I practiced medicine for 53 years, in a professional life spanning more than half a century. I witnessed the final breaths of hundreds of people. I personally signed their death certificates. I kept vigil in intensive care rooms until morning. I held their hands in their last hours and looked into their eyes. More often than not, I was the one who had to deliver the painful news to their families. I saw hope fade from a person's face within seconds, over and over again. And now, after all these years, I want to tell you a truth I observed in the majority of those people. Most of them did not have to die at the age they died. It wasn't primarily their genetics. It wasn't fate. It was to a great extent their daily choices, their habits, and the small but powerful mistakes they chose to ignore. I first began noticing this pattern in the early 1970s. I was a young doctor at the time. At first I thought it was coincidence, but as the years passed, I kept seeing the same picture repeated again and again. I warned my patients. I explained things countless times. I drew charts and showed them reports. Most of them said they understood, but they made no real changes in their lives. Today, the majority of those people are no longer alive. Yes, sadly, most of them have passed away. Even saying that sentence still feels heavy, but it is the truth. I am 102 years old. I am not saying this to gain sympathy, not for admiration either. I simply want you to understand this. Throughout my life, I have stood beside more people who were about to die than many people alive today ever will. I clearly saw the difference between those who reached their 90s and those who left suddenly in their late 60s. Most likely, you too are making at least a few of those mistakes right now. Today, even this morning, without realizing that they are quietly stealing years from your life. The first and most striking truth my profession taught me is this: prolonged sitting is far more destructive than you think. I am not exaggerating. Remaining inactive for hours slowly consumes the body from within. In the early 1980s, I began keeping special notes on my patients who worked desk jobs. Accountants, secretaries, office workers. They all showed a similar aging pattern. Cardiovascular diseases appeared earlier. Blood pressure problems were more frequent. Weight gain became harder to control. By the 1990s, the picture was clear. A person who spent most of the day sitting aged internally about 40% faster than someone who moved regularly throughout the day. When I later saw similar findings in scientific publications, I was not surprised. I had already witnessed it in my patients' bodies. When you sit for long periods, circulation slows down. Blood pools in the lower extremities. The lymphatic system, which depends on movement, becomes sluggish. Cellular waste is not cleared efficiently. Muscle mass begins to decline. Metabolism slows. Insulin resistance increases. After the age of 60, this process accelerates because the body's repair capacity decreases. I had a patient, a retired judge. He walked every morning and believed that was enough. But he spent the remaining 10 hours of his day in front of the television. At 71, he suffered a stroke, and despite all efforts, we lost him. That 1 hour of morning activity did not compensate for a full day of inactivity. The solution is not complicated. Stand up every hour, walk for 5 minutes, use the stairs, move while talking on the phone, activate your muscles. Small but consistent movements create significant long-term differences. I have followed this practice since 1974. I still stand up every hour. The second major issue is sleep. I met countless patients who proudly said, "I sleep 5 hours. That's enough for me." In reality, the brain needs an average of 7 to 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep to repair itself properly. During deep sleep, the brain clears metabolic waste and undergoes a kind of maintenance process. Proteins associated with cognitive decline are removed during this phase. When sleep is consistently insufficient, these wastes accumulate. In my patients who slept poorly, memory problems began approximately 10 years earlier, compared to those who slept well. Fragmented sleep is even more harmful than short sleep. Frequent awakenings prevent the transition into deep sleep. A person may spend 8 hours in bed and still wake up exhausted. If you do not feel restored in the morning, you must question the quality of your sleep. Another silent risk is loneliness. After the age of 60, the shrinking of one's social circle is very common. Loss of a spouse, fewer friends, retirement reducing daily interaction. Loneliness is not just an emotional state, it has physiological consequences. Cortisol levels rise. The immune system becomes suppressed. Chronic inflammation increases. Patients who lived alone and lacked meaningful social bonds declined faster than those who had serious illnesses but strong social networks. Human beings are biologically social creatures. Isolation places a chronic stress burden on the body. That is why building and maintaining social connections must be a conscious effort. Join a community, call an old friend, visit a neighbor. Do not go weeks without a real conversation. Nutrition was another area where I observed shortcomings in the advice given during the first 40 years of my career. Avoid fat, consume whole grains without limit, was the dominant message. As a result, many people relied heavily on bread, bagels, jam, and cereals in the morning, and were surprised when their blood sugar levels became unstable. After 60, insulin sensitivity decreases, and carbohydrate tolerance declines. Constant high carbohydrate intake triggers inflammation. I reduced processed carbohydrates, increased natural and healthy fats, and shifted toward a diet rich in vegetables and quality protein. Within 3 months, I observed significant improvement in my blood markers. Patients who followed this guidance experienced benefits as well. Chronic worry is often underestimated. It is dismissed as a personality trait, yet persistent low-level anxiety keeps stress hormones elevated continuously. This gradually wears down the cardiovascular system, the immune system, and other vital structures. I had patients with no financial difficulties who constantly imagined worst-case scenarios. They aged faster, they slept worse, their immunity weakened. Learning to release what you cannot control is not a psychological luxury, it is a physiological necessity. My wife passed away 8 years ago. We were married for 61 years. Unfortunately, she did not apply most of the advice I have described. Because of knee pain, she became increasingly inactive. She did not take her sleep issues seriously. She continued eating a bread-heavy, low-fat traditional diet. She worried daily about our children and grandchildren. She passed away at 94. 94 may seem like a long life, but her last 15 years were a gradual decline. Her mobility decreased, her mental sharpness faded, and her independence weakened. Those years were not truly living, they were a slow diminishment. Perhaps she could have lived 10 more years with independence and vitality. I am 102 years old. I live alone. I cook my own meals. I walk every day. I read books. I speak with my grandchildren regularly. I sleep an average of 7.5 hours each night.